Jenny. She was my best friend, my lover. She was everything to me. We met when we were 21. Our life together was a continuous adventure. We traveled everywhere, we went through a lot, and we even endangered our lives a few times, but we always came through. She was raised by her father, but she didn't get to spend much time with him anymore. I never got to build a relationship with him. I loved her more than anything, and she loved me back. I knew she would always be there for me, and she was always in my thoughts too. She was my go-to place, she was my support, and I would have done anything for her. She was my soulmate. That was until I died. And then everything started again. We met, we fell in love, we traveled, we suffered, we loved, we cried, we lived. I died, over and over again. This was supposed to be my future. I imagined it countless times as a child. Jenny was this character, so strong in my mind. I loved her, even though I knew she wasn't real. But somehow I kind of believed in her. I had this intense feeling that she truly existed somewhere, and that these stories I was creating were just possibilities of the future, or visions of the future. She was so detailed in my mind. She had long red hair and green eyes. She was strong, independent, kind and fierce. I imagined the moment we met in so many ways, and it was always going to be so powerful. We would meet and recognize each other instantly, as if we had known each other from before. I felt she truly existed. And then I became a pre-teenager. A new character appeared in my alternate universe. It was a man. His name was John. Jenny was still there, sometimes. And John at the beginning, he was dark, mysterious, secretive. And his role was to be a long-lost brother who was appearing and disappearing. He was fascinating, but he wasn't opening up. Over time he did. And when he did, this character's role changed. Over time he was no longer a brother. John understood me in a way nobody else did. But our relationship never developed as intensely as the one I had with Jenny. That's because I was turning into a teenager, and I think my fantasies started to become more realistic and more varied. For a few years, he stayed as this character. And then I grew up, and I started having fantasies with real people. Sometimes I would return to imaginary characters, but the characters would be quite different. The new characters were men who were in great pain. They were running, they were in need of protection, they needed to hide, they were in great danger. So I would meet them and hide them and help them, comfort them. I think that this sort of character was probably a mirroring image of what I felt. The pain that I felt as a child, as a teenager. And the dying part of my story, I think that was happening Because I don't think as a child I could imagine myself growing up and having a life of my own, achieving happiness. I thought I was going to die. So that's how the story played. It was also probably because the story needed a very clear ending, so it was easy to end it with death. Does everybody have this sort of ideal character as they grow up? If you did, let me know in the comments, please. Thank you very much for listening. Does everybody have this sort of